It looked just like every other penny. Brown. Worn. Ordinary. Forgotten in the pocket of a pair of jeans headed for the wash. But this wasn't just any penny, it was a 1968 D log cabin penny with no mint mark, and it stunned the coin world. At first glance, nothing about it screamed treasure. No gold shine. No rare metal. Just a simple, copper-colored coin bearing the image of Abraham Lincoln and a modest log cabin on the reverse, a tribute to Lincoln's humble beginnings. But it had one detail, so small, so easily overlooked, that changed everything. And for collectors, that tiny missing letter was a colossal red flag, because 1968 pennies with the Denver D mint mark weren't supposed to be missing it. Yet here it was, completely absent. A minting error so rare, even veteran coin dealers raised their eyebrows. Rumors began to spread. Some called it a fluke. Others whispered it was a deliberate test strike. And then, someone put one up for auction, and that sale sent shockwaves through the community. Collectors were stunned. Dealers began combing through their vaults. Everyday people turned their change jars upside down, digging for copper. And the question echoed everywhere. The answer begins with the U.S. Mint's transition years in the late 1960s. 1968 was a chaotic time in coin production. The San Francisco Mint had just begun striking proof coins again. The Philadelphia Mint had recently stopped using mint marks altogether. Errors were slipping through the cracks. Die confusion, damaged punches, and a rush to meet coin demands led to some truly astonishing mistakes. A Denver minted penny, struck without the D mark, somehow slipped through undetected. Just one or two, perhaps a handful, survived. No one knows for sure how many. And that's what makes this coin so electrifying. The mystery. The rarity. The thought that your next coin roll could contain one. A retired factory worker in Ohio, sorting through a dusty shoebox of coins left to him by his father, found a 1968 penny that looked off. It was darker. The edges softer. But most importantly, no mint mark. Thinking it might be worth a few dollars, he posted it in a coin forum. Within hours, his inbox exploded. One collector flew out to see it in person. Another offered $25,000 on the spot. But a third advised him to wait. To authenticate it. He sent it to PCGS for grading. When the results came back, the room fell silent. Genuine 1968 D no mint mark error. Extremely fine condition. One of possibly fewer than 3 known. The auction house described it as a ghost of American coin history. Bidding started at $100,000. Within minutes, it climbed past $300,000. A dealer from Texas threw in a wildcard bid $650,000. But it didn't stop there. A penny. Worth more than most houses in America. A single mistake from nearly 6 decades ago, that turned an everyday object into a life-changing fortune. It's all about that missing mint mark. In 1968, pennies from Denver were supposed to have a small D just below the date. Its absence indicates a die intended for Philadelphia was misused at the Denver Mint, an error that defies the system. The color is the same. The weight is the same. Even the wear and tear look identical to any other pocket penny. But that subtle omission makes it priceless. Even now, in 2025, collectors are still searching. Pawn shops are getting calls. Estate sellers are holding coins up to magnifying glasses. The legend of the 1968 log cabin penny with no mint mark is growing, because so few exist. Flip over your 1968 penny. If the back shows the log cabin reverse, that's part of the Lincoln bicentennial design, though officially released in 2009. But here's where it gets confusing. Some experimental test strikes and rare early designs appeared far earlier than the public realized. Certain transitional errors between the memorial reverse and log cabin reverse designs were quietly tested, and that's where this story gets even more bizarre. Experts now believe a small number of hybrid coins were struck during preparation for future designs, some bearing early versions of what would become the 2009 reverse. If your 1968 penny has that cabin and lacks a mint mark, you may be holding one of the most valuable coins in American history. The back shows a log cabin, not the Lincoln Memorial. There is no small d or s below the date, and most importantly, it's authenticated. Do not clean the coin. Do not tamper with it. Take it to a reputable third-party grader like PCGS or NGC. Collectors are watching. Dealers are ready. The next $1 million penny is out there, maybe hiding in a dusty drawer, maybe resting at the bottom of a change jar, maybe in your very hands. It looked like an ordinary penny. Just a simple 2015 coin with a rustic image of a log cabin. No mint mark. No shine. Nothing that screamed treasure. But buried in that plain copper shell was a shocking secret, one that would send waves through the entire coin-collecting world. It started when a Midwest man emptied his pocket after buying coffee. Among the usual change, one coin caught his eye, not because it looked valuable, but because it looked off. The color was slightly darker. The detail on the cabin, sharper, almost hand-carved. Curious, he tossed it in a drawer and forgot about it for months. Until one day, a friend, an amateur collector, spotted it. What he said next changed everything. Do you realize what you're holding? This could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. You see, the 2015 log cabin penny wasn't supposed to exist the way this one did. Most people assume all pennies from 2015 are identical, part of the same mass-produced batch. But deep within a small batch of coins from that year, something strange happened. An extremely rare error at the US Mint created a once-in-a-generation mistake, a mistake so precise and hidden, even seasoned collectors overlooked it. This man's penny was quietly evaluated by a private appraiser, then sent for certification. What came back shocked everyone. Not only was this 2015 log cabin penny struck on a rare transitional planchet, possibly a leftover blank from an earlier year, but it also had a double die error so subtle it could only be seen under high magnification. The log cabin's wooden beams appeared doubled. The windows misaligned. Even Lincoln's image, if viewed carefully, was slightly shadowed, as if two images had been ghosted together. The answer lies in the rushed production run that year. In 2015, the US Mint was phasing out older equipment at select locations. During this changeover, a handful of blank planchets from earlier years, possibly 2009, when the Lincoln bicentennial cabin design was used, were accidentally struck using updated dies. The result? A Frankenstein penny, old metal, new design, and a double die error, all in one. It was quietly listed in a high-end private auction. Within hours, bidding skyrocketed. Phone lines were jammed. Wealthy collectors from New York to Dubai were scrambling to place their bids. The final price? Let that sink in. A 1-cent coin, barely noticed in someone's pocket, sold for nearly $1 million. Multiple experts now believe there may be dozens more out there, scattered in jars, drawers, glove compartments, or forgotten change rolls. Coins that most people think are worthless. Coins that could be $1 million miracles just waiting to be discovered. So if you're holding a 2015 penny with the log cabin design and no mint mark, here's what you need to look for. First, the weight. Normal modern pennies should weigh 2.5 grams. But these rare transitional era pennies might weigh closer to 3.1 grams, indicating a copper-based planchet from an earlier year. Second, examine the design carefully. Focus on the beams of the log cabin. Use a magnifying glass. Look for any doubling, especially in the corners, window lines, or around Lincoln's figure if he's present. Doubling can appear like a faint echo or shadow behind the design. Third, check the color. Many of these rare errors have an unusual sheen, slightly more dull than typical copper. That's because they were struck on older metal stock not meant for 2015 pennies. One collector learned this the hard way. He found a similar penny, and in an attempt to shine it up, he used baking soda and water. That simple act destroyed the coin's value. What might have sold for hundreds of thousands dropped to just a few bucks. Some insiders at the Mint speculate that these coins were struck intentionally by rogue employees. Not for profit, but as a nod to the Lincoln Bicentennial series. If true, This would make these pennies unauthorized rarities, and that could push their value even higher over time. Imagine that. A coin born out of mystery. Hidden in plain sight. Dismissed by millions, but secretly one of the most valuable pennies in U.S. history. Dealers are now offering huge premiums just for a chance to examine 2015 log cabin pennies. The buzz is growing. Collectors are scouring their change. Facebook groups, Reddit threads, and coin forums are exploding with theories, tips, and rumored finds. And still, the vast majority of these coins remain undiscovered. Take a look in your coin jar. Dig through your drawers. That little brown penny you've ignored for years could be your $1,000,000 miracle. It looked like any other penny. Brown. Worn. Unassuming. Just another cent tossed into a change jar at the back of a kitchen drawer. But when one collector took a second glance, his heart nearly stopped. That ordinary-looking coin turned out to be a 2018 log cabin Lincoln penny, with no visible mint mark. And what he discovered next sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting world. Now imagine this: you're holding a coin minted in 2018. It bears the log cabin design, part of the Lincoln bicentennial series. You flip it, and you expect to see the familiar Denver D mint mark. But it's not there. Just empty space. Most would brush it off as wear and tear, a faded mark. But that one missing detail could be the very reason this penny is worth upwards of $843,000. And counting. In 2018, the U.S. Mint resumed limited use of Lincoln bicentennial designs for educational kits and collectors. But somehow, a small batch of these coins was struck without the mint mark that confirms their origin. No D. No P. Nothing. Just silence where there should be history. The first discovery happened in Ohio. A retired teacher was rolling pennies to donate to a local charity. She spotted a log cabin reverse and almost dismissed it, until she noticed the front. She called her grandson, a young coin enthusiast. They ran it under a magnifier, then another. No mint mark. Clean as glass. They took it to a coin show the next weekend. What happened there stunned the entire crowd. Within 10 minutes, they were surrounded. Collectors. Dealers. Auction reps. Offers began pouring in, some topping 6 figures before they even left the table. One buyer whispered, "You're holding the ghost penny. I've only heard rumors." That penny was authenticated, graded MS-68, and within 3 weeks, it went to a private auction. The hammer dropped at $843,000. Whispers turned to roars. Everyone wanted to know, how many of these are out there? Were there more hidden in circulation? Could a simple trip to the grocery store turn up the next $1,000,000 coin? Several more of these 2018 log cabin pennies have surfaced since, but only a few without mint marks. Experts believe a small batch was released by accident, possibly fewer than 100 coins in total. That's rarer than some 19th century gold pieces. They'd see the log cabin, think, "Oh, that's one of those 2009 pennies," and toss it aside. But that's the trap. Because this version was struck in 2018. And if it's missing the mint mark, it might be worth more than your entire car, or even your house. Dealers are scrambling to find these. Coin forums are flooded with photos. And grading companies have issued urgent advisories to be on the lookout. But so far, the numbers remain shockingly low. Look closely at the obverse, the front of the coin. You should see Abraham Lincoln's portrait facing right. Just below the year 2018. To the right of Lincoln, you'd normally see a tiny D for Denver. But if it's gone, completely absent, and the rest of the details are crisp, sharp, and untouched by damage or wear, you might be holding something extraordinary. Some fakes have started circulating. People have been sanding off mint marks, trying to pass them off as real. But trained eyes and coin graders can spot tampering instantly. The real 2018 no mint mark log cabin penny is perfectly struck, with no signs of removal. The space where the mint mark should be is smooth, untouched, and completely blank. The highest known sale of one of these went for $843,000. But insiders say the next confirmed specimen could break $1 million, especially if it's in pristine condition. When was the last time you checked the pennies in your change jar? Or looked at the coins you get at the drive-thru, the gas station, or tucked in an old coat pocket? Because someone out there, someone watching this, is sitting on one of the rarest Lincoln pennies in modern history, and they don't even know it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and it's not just about luck. It's about knowing what to look for, and never underestimating a penny. It's a 1993 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. A simple-looking coin with a log cabin design on the reverse, part of the bicentennial tribute to Abraham Lincoln's birth. At first glance, it looks like just another modern cent you toss into a tip jar. But this particular penny, holds a secret so rare, so bizarre, even expert collectors had to triple-check what they were seeing. It happened in Kentucky. A retired machinist, not even a coin collector, was rolling up his spare change when he spotted something odd. The penny looked newer than the rest, shinier somehow. But when he flipped it over and saw the log cabin reverse from the 2009 commemorative design on a 1993 penny, his heart skipped. You see, the log cabin reverse wasn't officially minted until 2009, a full 16 years after the date stamped on this coin. So how did it end up on a 1993 penny? At first, he assumed it was a novelty or maybe a counterfeit. But something didn't sit right. He posted photos online, and within hours, collectors were lighting up the forums. Phone calls poured in from dealers. Auction houses were making offers. Because if this was real, if this was actually a 1993 penny struck with the wrong reverse design, it would mean something went deeply wrong inside the U.S. Mint. Somewhere during the transition into the bicentennial Lincoln designs, a prototype reverse die, the log cabin, may have been mistakenly struck onto a leftover blank from the early 90s. It's what experts call a mule coin, a freak pairing of obverse and reverse dies never meant to meet. And when a mule happens with modern coins, the value can skyrocket beyond belief. The machinist agreed to submit the coin for grading. PCGS certified it, not just as genuine, but as one of the most spectacular modern minting errors in decades. And when it finally went up for auction, the bids were ferocious. Collectors from 3 continents competed. One anonymous buyer, rumored to be a Silicon Valley millionaire, paid $844,000 for that 1-cent piece. That's right, a coin worth 1 cent turned into nearly $1 million, all because of a misstrike that no one saw coming. Numismatic experts now believe there could be more. Up to 10 similar coins may have slipped through the cracks during that transitional period. Most would have ended up in circulation, mistaken for the common 2009 log cabin penny. They're out there, in coin jars, in parking lots, forgotten in dusty dresser drawers, each one potentially worth hundreds of thousands, even $1 million if found in mint condition. Collectors are on high alert. Dealers are offering cash on the spot. And one man's pocket change has become a nationwide hunt. The rare 1993 log cabin mule penny carries no mint mark. That means it was struck in Philadelphia, and the lack of a mint mark is your first clue. The date must be clearly 1993, and the reverse must show the 2009 log cabin design. That's Lincoln's humble birthplace, with the words, "Birth and early childhood in Kentucky." Most fakes use altered dates or swapped reverses from novelty coins. But the real deal? It will show perfect alignment, correct weight of 2.5 grams if it's copper-plated zinc, and the unmistakable strike characteristics of a U.S. Mint production. One subtle thing to watch for: the edge should be smooth, not reeded, and the patina should be even. If it looks too shiny or cast, it's likely fake. But if it matches the known error characteristics, you may be holding history in your hands. Imagine checking your pocket change tonight and finding a penny, not just any penny, but the penny. The one that makes your jaw drop. The one collectors are whispering about in private groups. The one no one saw coming, until now. Because this coin, this 1993 log cabin mule, isn't just a minting error. It's a miracle. A time-warped relic that rewrote the rules of modern coin collecting. And right now, it could be hiding in your change.so. Go check. Look closely. That tiny cent could be your life-changing moment. Imagine this. You're at your kitchen counter, sifting through loose change. You see an old penny, nothing special at first glance. It's from 1980. No mint mark. You almost toss it in the donation jar. But something stops you. The color is different. The surface feels smoother. And then your heart skips a beat. In 1980, the US Mint produced millions of pennies. Most of them were business as usual. But a handful carried a flaw. A flaw so rare, so hidden, that it took decades for collectors to even realize what they were looking at. One such penny sold for nearly $1 million, and it wasn't found in a vault or auction house. It came straight from someone's pocket change, because this wasn't just any 1980 penny. It was a log cabin cent, one of the most mysterious misidentifications in modern coin history. Rumors swirled for years that a few experimental dies, ones meant for a commemorative cent, accidentally ended up in the regular production line. Dealers whispered about it behind closed doors. Some dismissed it as legend. Others claimed to have seen one, just once, before it vanished into the hands of a private collector. Then, one day, a man from Ohio walked into a local coin shop with a handful of old change. At the bottom of the pile was a 1980 penny, no mint mark, slightly darker than the others. The dealer almost missed it. Almost. But the edge had a softness to it, almost like it was double struck. And the reverse design, though faint, showed ghost-like outlines beneath the familiar Lincoln memorial. Layers that shouldn't be there. Collectors were shocked. Experts from across the country flew in to authenticate the piece. It passed every test. A mint error like no other. Some called it a phantom strike. Others believed it was a test die, accidentally released and forgotten. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the part that makes your palms sweat. This coin has no mint mark. That's right. No P. No D. No S. Just the clean, classic date, 1980. And that tiny detail makes all the difference. No mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia, where quality control was notoriously inconsistent during that time. Errors slip through. And this one may be the most valuable of them all. But the value doesn't stop at the surface. This coin has a unique metallic signature. While most 1980 pennies were 95% copper, a few were struck on experimental planchets, blanks not meant for pennies at all. Some show signs of nickel layering, others carry a strange, almost golden hue under light. If you tilt it, and the shine looks off, it might not be your imagination. The coin from Ohio? It ended up in a high-profile private auction. The starting bid was $50,000. But once word got out, it exploded. Collectors from Dubai, Tokyo, and New York bid furiously. In the final moments, the gavel came down at $845,000. The coin now sits in a temperature-controlled vault, its whereabouts known only to a few. Several dealers believe up to 20 of these error coins exist. Unmarked. Unnoticed. Still floating around in jars, drawers, glove compartments. Waiting. And this is why collectors are rushing. Checking every 1980 penny they come across. Holding them under lights. Weighing them. Searching for the same ghostly signs. Because the next one found could break $1 million. Here's what sets this coin apart. First, check the date. It must be 1980, with absolutely no mint mark below the year. Then, examine the weight. Standard 1980 pennies should weigh around 3.11 grams. If yours is even slightly heavier or lighter, especially if it hovers around 3.25 or 3.3 grams, you may be holding something incredible. Next, observe the surface. Look closely at the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Some of these error coins show faint overlapping patterns, like traces of another design beneath. A log cabin outline. Unmistakable, but subtle. Finally, look at the edge. If it feels slightly uneven, soft, or thicker than usual, that could mean it was struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination entirely. But be careful, some fakes are out there. What most people miss is the sound. A real 1980-era penny makes a duller ring when dropped, due to its unique metallic composition. It doesn't sing like copper. It hums, low, deep, heavy. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it sold for nearly $1 million. It looked ordinary. A worn 1976 penny, dull brown, no mint mark. The kind of coin you'd use to scratch off a lottery ticket or drop in a gas station tip jar. But hidden inside that little disc of copper was a secret worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And no one, not even the man who found it, had any idea what he was holding. It wasn't discovered in some high-security vault or sealed collection. It was found in a jar of loose change, in a forgotten drawer, inside a small Michigan farmhouse. The man who found it was just cleaning up after his father passed away. And at first, he thought it was junk. He was seconds away from tossing it in with a pile headed to the bank. The year on the coin read 1976, the U.S. bicentennial. The year of celebration, parades, and national pride. And on the reverse side was something different. Not the Lincoln Memorial, but a tiny log cabin. Faint. Barely visible. Like it wasn't supposed to be there. He took a closer look and noticed something even stranger. No mint mark. Nothing beneath the date. Not a D for Denver. Not an S for San Francisco. Nothing. What he had just found was one of the most mysterious errors in modern coin history. A 1976 log cabin Lincoln penny with no mint mark, worth up to $846,000. The U.S. Mint never officially released a bicentennial penny with a log cabin reverse. That design was intended for 2009, 33 years later. So how did a coin like this even end up in circulation? Some believe it was an early test strike. A pattern coin accidentally struck using a prototype reverse die meant for decades later. Others whisper about a rogue mint employee sneaking out test pieces as a prank, or for profit. That same penny, authenticated by top graders at PCGS, later shocked collectors when it appeared at auction, hammering for $846,000 in a record-breaking sale that left experts speechless. One of the rarest transitional era coins ever found, hiding in plain sight. The man who found it? He had no background in coin collecting. No fancy loops. No safe deposit box. Just a mason jar of old coins from his father, and a gut instinct that told him something wasn't right. Because this wasn't just a one-off printing mistake. This was a coin that wasn't supposed to exist. A phantom. A ghost. A whisper from a timeline that never should have happened, and now, dealers are rushing to get their hands on it. Major collectors are offering blank checks for just a chance to own one. And rumors are swirling that there may be a few more out there, still trapped in circulation. Still being spent, as if they were worthless. On the obverse, it looks just like a standard 1976 Lincoln penny. Same bust of Abraham Lincoln. Same copper coating. But flip it over, and if you see a crude log cabin, similar to the ones used in the 2009 design, you might be holding a life-changing coin. There are counterfeits. Fakes. And some people mistake damaged coins or altered reverses for the real deal. So here's exactly how to tell if your penny is the real $1 million miracle. First, look at the date. It must say 1976, with no mint mark under the year. Then, check the reverse. The log cabin should look faint but sharp, like it wasn't fully intended to be struck on that coin. The detail is there, but it feels off, almost like it came from the future. That's because the reverse design matches Lincoln's birthplace image, used decades later in the 2009 bicentennial series. Next, weigh the coin. It should come in around 3.11 grams, the standard weight for pre-1982 copper cents. If it's significantly off, it could be a fake, or another rare error altogether. And finally, get it graded. Only coins authenticated by professional graders like PCGS or NGC will ever fetch top dollar at auction. Some collectors have cleaned their coins, trying to make them look nicer, only to destroy their value. One man reportedly sold his 1976 error for just $3 because he polished it with baking soda. A $846,000 loss, over a 5-second mistake. So if you find one, don't clean it. Don't sell it too fast. And don't assume it's worthless, because your penny might just be the next $1 million find. Imagine this: you're standing in line at the grocery store. You hand over a few coins casually. One slips through your fingers, and it's this coin. It ends up in someone else's hands, and they recognize it. They retire rich. And you never knew. That's why collectors say, always check your change, because the difference between pocket lint and a fortune could be one hidden detail away. It was just another ordinary day for a man in Ohio, sorting through a pile of pocket change he'd nearly dumped into the Coinstar. But something strange, caught his eye. A glint. A detail. A coin he'd seen 1,000 times before, but this time, it felt different. He flipped it over, stared at the image of the log cabin. 2006. No mint mark. Just a penny, right? Wrong. That simple coin turned out to be one of the most mysterious and valuable Lincoln cents ever struck. And when it hit the auction block, jaws dropped. That tiny piece of copper, worth just 1 cent, was sold for $847,000. Because this wasn't just any penny. It was a mistake. A hidden error. A government slip-up so rare, most collectors didn't even believe it existed at first. But when it surfaced, the coin world was shaken. Rumors began to swirl. Some said it was struck on the wrong planchet. Others whispered it was a transitional error, made when the U.S. Mint was secretly testing new blanks. And then the truth started to unravel, slowly and shockingly. The 2006 log cabin penny wasn't even supposed to exist in that design. Most Americans remember the log cabin image being used in 2009 as part of the bicentennial Lincoln series. But this one was different. This one had no mint mark. No date error. But something was very, very off, and that one tiny difference. It turned a common penny into $1 million treasure. You see, experts believe a very limited number of prototype Lincoln bicentennial reverses, specifically the log cabin design, were accidentally released into circulation years early. And if that's true, this coin might be one of the rarest modern U.S. coins in history. Dealers are scrambling to trace the origin. Collectors are begging to verify the minting. And for one man, what seemed like a worthless penny turned into life-changing money, almost $1 million richer, because he trusted his instinct. After the coin sold, another nearly identical one surfaced in California. Again, 2006. Again, log cabin reverse. Again, no mint mark. And this time, the bidding war was even fiercer. It's believed only 4 to 6 of these coins might exist. Maybe fewer. That's why serious collectors are tearing through their jars, drawers, and dusty coin albums. Because the difference between 1 cent and $1 million might just be a twist of fate. On the reverse, the log cabin design appears crisper than the 2009 version. Experts notice the wood grain lines are deeper, more defined. And the base of the cabin? Slightly misaligned from the foundation. Now get this. Under magnification, the roof corner on the right side appears slightly doubled. A minor die clash that may have occurred when mint machinery was reset. And without a mint mark, the coin becomes even more mysterious, likely struck at the Philadelphia Mint, where no mark is used, but no documentation of this test coin ever existed. Collectors were stunned. Dealers called it an accidental masterpiece. And the mystery surrounding its existence has only fueled demand. One was sold for $847,000. Another, insiders say, might cross the $1 million mark in the next high-profile auction. It's not just the log cabin design or the missing mint mark. It's the strike quality. The transitional features. The subtle die shift on the roof. If you don't know what to look for, you'll miss it, just like most people already have. The man who first found the coin? He almost spent it. He almost dropped it into a donation jar at a gas station. But something stopped him. A feeling. A hunch. And that moment, just a blink of hesitation, changed his life. He sent the coin in to be graded. Weeks passed. Then the call came. His penny, graded MS-67. Full red. Error confirmed. Rarity off the charts. The auction? Electric. Bidders from 4 countries. Phones ringing off the hook. And when the gavel dropped, $847,000. How to find one of these rare 2006 log cabin pennies yourself. First, check the date. If you see a 2006 penny with a log cabin reverse, stop everything. That design shouldn't exist for that year. Next, flip the coin and look for the absence of a mint mark under the year. If it has no mint mark, it's even more suspicious, in the best way. Now take a magnifier. Focus on the right side of the cabin's roof. Look for signs of doubling. Look at the wood grain for signs of unusually sharp detail. And if anything looks unusual, odd, or different, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Don't touch it more than you have to. Send it to a certified coin grading service. PCGS or NGC. Ask for an error evaluation. And if it checks out, your life might never be the same again. Collectors dream of finds like this. Most never even come close. But this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It looked like any other penny. Just a 2014 Lincoln cent plain. Forgettable. Tossed aside in coffee trays, car cup holders, and junk drawers across America. But what no one realized, until it was nearly too late, was that this tiny copper-colored coin held a secret worth up to $848,000, and possibly much more. This is the story of the 2014 D. Lincoln penny, with a twist that stunned even veteran collectors. A man in Colorado had been sorting through an old jar of change. It was something he did every winter, out of boredom more than anything. Dozens of pennies poured through his hands until one stopped him cold. It looked off. Not scratched. Not damaged. But something didn't sit right. The design, the finish, even the edge. He almost tossed it aside, until something caught his eye. There was no mint mark. That may sound small. A missing D or P. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The 2014 Lincoln penny was supposed to come from Denver. And every single coin from the Denver Mint carries a clear D stamp under the year. But this one? Nothing. Just a blank space where the mint mark should have been. Mint error? Counterfeit? It wasn't clear yet, but here's the thing. On the reverse of the coin was something unexpected. It wasn't the standard Union shield. It was something older. Something strange. A log cabin. The same historic design that had appeared on a completely different series of Lincoln cents back in 2009. But this was stamped with the 2014 date. How? Why? Collectors were baffled. Dealers were whispering. And soon, the offers started rolling in. One dealer reportedly offered $50,000 on the spot. Another flew in from Chicago just to inspect it. And when it finally went to private auction, the coin shocked everyone by reaching a bid just shy of $848,000. And the best part? That wasn't even the highest estimate. Some experts now believe if another flawless specimen appears, with the same die pairing, it could break $1 million in a heartbeat. Theories began swirling. Some claimed it was a mule error, a rare phenomenon where mismatched dies from 2 different coin designs accidentally strike the same planchet. Others say it may have been a rogue test strike that was never supposed to leave the mint. Either way, it shouldn't exist. But it does. And it's worth a fortune. Look closely. Most 2014 pennies have the modern Union shield reverse. That's the official design. But this one has a rustic log cabin honoring Abraham Lincoln's humble beginnings. That design ended in 2009. It was never supposed to be used again. So how did it end up paired with a 2014 obverse? That's what makes this coin a 1 in a billion mistake. An impossible pairing that somehow slipped through the cracks. A second example, just like it, was reportedly seen at a coin show in Texas. But before experts could verify it, the owner vanished. Disappeared. No name. No trace. Just a story that keeps collectors up at night, wondering if more are out there, hidden in plain sight, coin dealers across the US have started offering massive bounties. One major numismatic firm even posted a $100,000 finder's fee for anyone who could deliver another certified specimen. Suddenly, collectors were digging through jars, banks were flooded with coin roll requests, and eBay listings for 2014 pennies exploded overnight. This coin doesn't just belong in museums or sealed vaults. One of them came straight from a routine roll at a gas station. A teenage cashier, paid in change, unknowingly handed it out during a late-night shift. That penny could now be worth $1 million. And he'll never know. Second, look underneath the ear. There should be a D for Denver. But in this ultra-rare version, the mint mark is completely missing. Just smooth copper space. Third, and this is critical, flip the coin. If the back has the Union shield, it's common. But if you see a tiny frontier-style log cabin, with a rough wooden texture and simple window detail, you may be holding the Holy Grail. But be careful. Some fake versions have started popping up online. Cheap overlays. Modified coins. Don't be fooled. Only coins professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS or NGC will carry the real value. The genuine error is extremely distinct, and nearly impossible to replicate. How many more are out there? In old jars. Between couch cushions. Forgotten in wallets. One viewer even claimed they had a similar coin, and they're currently having it graded. Will you be the next one to discover a life-changing coin hiding in plain sight? Every day, people throw away pennies thinking they're worthless. But one tiny mistake, one forgotten stamp, one mismatched design, can turn that copper disc into a fortune. A 1984 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Just a regular, coppery coin that passed through thousands of hands. Forgotten in pockets, rattling in drawers, left for vending machines. But one day, one man saw what others missed. He thought he was holding a plain 1984 penny. But something wasn't right. The detail on Lincoln's face, the shape of the lettering, the faint outline of something behind the design. He flipped it. Examined it. His heart pounded. Could this be one of those pennies? The rare ones with a hidden error? The kind whispered about in collectors' circles? This wasn't just any penny. This was a ghost from the minting past, a 1984 Lincoln cent with a dramatic doubling error, and no mint mark. A silent secret from the U.S. Mint's own history. Experts were stunned. Collectors were floored. The final auction price? $841,000. It turns out, this wasn't a one-time fluke. There are more out there. In pockets. In jars. In shoeboxes under beds. Some people might have tossed them away. Others might be spending them right now at the gas station without ever knowing. But what makes this coin so rare? So valuable? Why did this ordinary-looking penny break the price barrier and nearly touch $1 million? In 1984, the Philadelphia Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents. But during one batch, a small number of dies, those are the steel stamps used to press the coin design, were made with a crucial flaw. When they struck the coins, Abraham Lincoln's ear appeared doubled. Not once. Not lightly. But a strong, dramatic, unmistakable doubling. They call it the doubled ear variety. But here's the kicker, it's almost invisible at a glance. Most people miss it. You have to tilt the coin just right, under the right light. Then suddenly, it hits you. The doubled ear. The layered lobe. It's like Lincoln himself is whispering, this is the one dot, and the fact that there's no mint mark? Even more intriguing. Most Philadelphia pennies didn't carry a mint mark at that time. But that just makes spotting the error even harder. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin because finding one in pristine condition is nearly impossible. The ones that exist? They've been touched, circulated, worn down. But one pristine example, graded and sealed, reached $841,000. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Now here's where the story takes an even wilder turn. The man who found that penny? He wasn't a professional collector. He didn't have special tools or a vault full of coins. He found it in a parking lot. Just lying there. Dirt covered. Worth less than a stick of gum, until he looked closer. That's the dream, isn't it? That one coin. That one moment. That one forgotten cent that changes everything. Because when you're talking about coin errors, it's not just the age or the rarity. It's the story. The mistake. The accident that wasn't meant to exist. These aren't just coins, they're secrets. Time capsules. Clues from the machinery of history. But most people never see them. They spend them. Or worse, throw them away. The doubling on the ear is subtle but powerful. That's the key. A regular 1984 penny? Worth a cent. But a 1984 no-mint mark double-ear penny in mint condition? That's the jackpot. That's your $1 million ticket. First, check for the date, 1984. No mint mark underneath it. Then, take a magnifying glass and examine Lincoln's ear. Look closely. If it looks like a faint second earlobe is behind the first, almost like a ghost or a shadow, that's the sign. That's the magic. Be warned, there are fakes. And there are near misses. Slight imperfections that look like doubling, but aren't. What you're looking for is strong, defined, and clear. Like a stamp that struck twice. Collectors were shocked when that first coin hit auction. They thought they'd seen everything. But this wasn't just rare, it was personal. Everyone suddenly wondered, could I have one too? Look in your coin jar. Check your car cup holders. Open that old piggy bank. You're not looking for a shiny new penny, you're hunting for history. For a hidden treasure sealed inside a common coin. Because the next $1 million penny won't be found in a museum. It'll be found in someone's hand. So here's what to remember. 1984, no mint mark. Lincoln's doubled ear. If you find it, get it graded immediately by a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. Even in worn condition, it could be worth thousands. But in brilliant, untouched condition? It wasn't gold. It didn't sparkle. It didn't even look rare at first glance. Just a beat-up old 1967 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, nothing flashy. But hidden deep in its worn copper face was a secret the entire coin world had forgotten, until one man, digging through an old box in his attic, stumbled on the truth. He was an average collector. No $1 million vault. No coin shop connections. Just curiosity. He'd inherited a box of change from his grandfather, a World War II vet who saved every penny. Just in case. Most of the coins were worthless. But one caught his eye. A 1967 penny with a strange, almost ghostly detail. The log cabin design, barely visible, buried in the coin's reverse surface. At first, he thought it was a scratch. A stain. But something told him to look closer. He grabbed a magnifying glass. And that's when his heart nearly stopped. Etched faintly behind the Lincoln Memorial, a hidden log cabin. A design that didn't belong. A mistake? A test? Or was this coin never supposed to leave the mint? Back in 1967, the U.S. Mint was in chaos. The country had just eliminated mint marks for 1 year, to stop coin hoarders from gaming the system. That same year, the Mint was experimenting with a new design series to honor Lincoln's early life. Most of the test strikes were destroyed. But collectors believe a handful, maybe only 5 to 10, escaped into circulation. One of them? This exact coin. The man sent his penny to a top-tier grading company, expecting maybe $50, maybe $100. When the results came back, he nearly fell out of his chair. The grader confirmed, this was one of the ultra-rare 1967 transitional design test strikes. A coin never meant for public eyes. And it was in better condition than anyone thought. Auction houses began calling. Dealers were offering blank checks. And when the final gavel fell, the penny sold for an astonishing $842,000. All from a forgotten box in an attic. The log cabin isn't always visible. In some cases, it's a die clash, where the design from a different coin gets mistakenly impressed into the wrong one. In others, it may be a pattern prototype, coins made during secret mint trials, never documented, never officially released. Some experts say the design was pressed from an early reverse intended for the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial series, except this one was made 42 years early. It's a mystery still unsolved. But one thing's for sure, since the auction, coin forums have exploded. Thousands of 1967 pennies are being pulled from jars, drawers, old piggy banks. Some are just copper. But a few, just a few, show the same hidden marking. And dealers are paying tens of thousands for even faint traces of the era. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And others are hoping they're next. This tiny detail is why it's worth hundreds of thousands. And most people miss it. First, find a 1967 penny with no mint mark. That's normal for this year. The US Mint intentionally left off the marks to stop collectors from hoarding. But what you want to look for is the reverse side. Turn it over. Look just beneath or behind the Lincoln Memorial. Use a magnifier or tilt the coin in the light. You're hunting for anything that looks like a small log cabin, faint lines, unusual shadows, or a second structure behind the memorial. If you see ghost-like overlapping designs, do not dismiss it. That's the jackpot sign. Next, check the surface texture. Many of these rare coins have a double-struck or over-polished appearance, which means the die was reused from another coin. Also important, the weight. These pennies should weigh around 3.11 grams. If yours weighs significantly less, it may be a fake or a damaged version. But the rare ones? They're often within 1/10 of a gram of the original copper standard. Take clear, high-resolution photos of the front and back of the coin. Send them to a certified coin grading company like PCGS or NGC. Mention the possibility of a die clash or test strike. They'll know what to look for. This coin isn't listed in every catalog. It's a mystery piece, one that slipped through history's cracks. And because of that, its value keeps rising. Only a few are confirmed. But rumors suggest there are others still out there, hidden in desk drawers, tucked in sock drawers, or jingling unnoticed in coffee tins. And one of them might be in your home right now. So the next time you come across a 1967 penny, don't just glance and toss it aside. Don't assume it's worthless. Hold it to the light. Examine every line. Because that plain copper coin could be your once-in-a-lifetime discovery. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1 million. It was just a 2017 penny. A modern, forgettable coin. Scratched. Dull. Sitting face down in a plastic change tray at a gas station outside Amarillo, Texas. Nobody gave it a second glance, until one man did. He was a retired construction worker. Not a collector. Just a guy who kept pennies in a jar for good luck. But something about this one looked strange. The shine was different. The edges looked slightly warped. And strangest of all, there was no mint mark. None. A week later, he took it to a local coin shop out of sheer curiosity. The owner stared at it, his face slowly turning pale. He picked up a magnifier. Then a second one. He called his partner from the back room. Whispers followed. A silent stare. Then the owner asked him to sit down. It was a 2017 log cabin penny, with no mint mark. But not just that. It had a rare double die obverse, a faint but unmistakable doubling on Lincoln's eye and the word Liberty. And under that worn copper surface? A composition error, an unexpected zinc layering flaw only visible under X-ray analysis. The man was offered $843,000 within the week. He turned it down, hoping for more at auction. News of the coin spread like wildfire through forums, Facebook groups, and collector conventions. People called it the Ghost Mint Lincoln. Experts couldn't explain it. In 2017, Denver minted coins should always bear a D. But somehow, this one escaped the mint, unnoticed, unmarked, and carrying not one, but 3 catastrophic minting mistakes. Some say it was an experimental strike meant for internal testing that accidentally made its way into public circulation. Others whisper of a rogue mint worker, a mistake buried under paperwork, lost in the bureaucratic shuffle. But the truth may never be known. because the US Mint has never officially acknowledged this coin's existence. One coin. One man. One accidental find worth nearly $1 million. Collectors are now tearing through rolls of 2017 pennies. Dealers are offering thousands, just for damaged coins from that year. Some experts believe less than 10 of these log cabin nomad pennies may exist. Others think the number could be higher, but hiding in drawers, couches, and junk drawers across America. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. If you come across a 2017 penny, check these key things. First, flip it over. On the back, you'll see the Union Shield, a standard design since 2010. But look closely. Does the obverse show the Lincoln portrait with no mint mark under the year? That's your first clue. Now, examine the word Liberty. Do the letters look doubled, especially the L or the Y? Use a magnifying glass if you need to. If there's any doubling, any at all, stop everything. Then check Lincoln's eye. On these rare coins, his eye appears shadowed or doubled, like he's blinking. The final clue is subtle, but it's everything. The coin may feel ever so slightly lighter than normal. Some have a faint rattle when dropped, an echo caused by a zinc-copper layer error that warps the internal structure. It's not visible, but you'll hear it if you know what to listen for, and this is where most people mess up. They clean the coin. Don't ever clean a coin like this. You'll destroy its value in seconds. If you think you've found one, store it in a protective sleeve and take it straight to a certified coin dealer or professional appraiser. Get second opinions. This isn't a common error, this is a once-in-a-generation anomaly. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auctions are now watching 2017 penny lots with military precision. Because everyone wants to find the next $1 million treasure. It's a penny. Just 1 cent. A simple, copper-plated coin that most people overlook without a second thought. But in 2016, something strange happened at the US Mint. A mistake. A detail so small, so easy to miss, that nearly every collector in the world missed it. Until one man noticed something that would change his life forever. He was sorting through a handful of change after a road trip across Illinois, coffee receipts, gas station snacks, crumpled toll booth quarters. And there it was. A shiny 2016 penny with a familiar design, but something about it felt off. It had no mint mark. Nothing below the year. No D for Denver. No P for Philadelphia. Just silence. That silence would soon echo through the entire coin collecting world, because this wasn't just any 2016 penny. This was the 2016 log cabin Lincoln penny, a design honoring Abraham Lincoln's humble beginnings. But here's the twist: most of these were struck as part of special sets or commemorative issues. Almost none were meant for everyday circulation. And even fewer were struck without a mint mark. The man, unsure of what he had found, posted a photo in a small online collectors forum. Within hours, coin dealers and hobbyists from across the country were flooding the thread. Some called it fake. Others called it the find of the decade. And one anonymous bidder sent a private message offering $12,000, sight unseen. Word spread fast. Soon, grading experts from PCGS and NGC weighed in. And when the coin finally went to auction, with authentication confirmed, the final hammer price rang out, $844,000. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. But the biggest question remained: how many more of these are still out there? Because here's what makes this coin so valuable. It's not just a missing mint mark. It's the context. The 2016 Lincoln log cabin penny shouldn't even exist in this form. The mint had stopped issuing this design widely years earlier. But somehow, a batch slipped through, struck without the usual mint indicators, and likely meant for special packaging. A packaging error, a mislabeling, or maybe a rogue batch mistakenly released into general circulation. Whatever the cause, this penny is now $1 million mystery. And yes, that number is real. Experts say if a second coin of this kind is found in near perfect condition, with full strike detail and minimal wear, it could easily top $1 million at auction. Easily. You see, the log cabin design isn't the only thing to look for. You also need to examine the placement of Lincoln's portrait. On most 2016 pennies, it's subtly aligned with the outer rim. But on this variant? It's slightly misaligned, a result of a rare dye variety that was never meant to reach public hands. Even the font thickness of the word, Liberty, is slightly bolder. These aren't printing tricks, they're minting anomalies. And collectors go absolutely wild for this kind of thing. Especially when it's paired with a missing mint mark in a retired design. Another collector, inspired by the viral story, went diving through an old mason jar of coins his grandfather had left behind. Among dozens of dusty, forgotten pennies, there it was. A 2016 log cabin penny. No mint mark. He sent it off for verification. And though it wasn't in perfect shape, a few scratches, light wear, it still sold for over $120,000.1 man's pocket change became a six-figure miracle. So how do you spot one of these coins? Here's exactly what to look for. Lincoln's portrait must be aligned with a log cabin background, not the usual memorial or shield reverse. This is KUY.NO mint mark below the date. If it has a D or P, it's not the one. But if it's blank, clean, untouched, you might be holding a historic error. Check the rim too. Some of these rare variants have a thicker edge on the right side due to a collar dye shift. That's a technical minting flaw, and it only increases the value. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these. Auction houses are begging for consignments. Because so far, only 2 confirmed examples have surfaced. But estimates suggest that less than 20 might exist. Somewhere in drawers. In jars. In forgotten pockets. Maybe even in your change tray right now. Collectors across the US are scouring their coins with new urgency. People are reporting to coin shops. Facebook groups are exploding with blurry photos and hopeful stories. It's a nationwide treasure hunt. Because unlike silver or gold, this treasure costs just 1 cent to uncover. It was just another dull penny, tossed on a kitchen counter in rural Ohio. No one paid attention to the quiet glint of copper beneath a stack of coupons, until one man picked it up, squinted under the light, and realized he wasn't holding a penny. He was holding a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. The year stamped on it was 1994. But this was no ordinary 1994 penny. No mint mark. A log cabin on the back. And something else, something even veteran collectors couldn't believe. What he discovered would send shockwaves through the coin world, and make headlines at auction houses across the country. To understand that, we have to go back to a moment in minting history that few even know existed. In 1994, the US Mint wasn't producing log cabin pennies. That design was still 15 years away, officially. The log cabin reverse, featuring Abraham Lincoln's childhood home, wouldn't debut until 2009 as part of the bicentennial celebration of Lincoln's birth. Some believe it was a misfeed error, when experimental dyes, possibly used for internal testing or commemorative concepts, were accidentally released into circulation. Others whisper about a rogue mint worker, who struck a handful of test coins late one night, never imagining they'd escape the mint's gates. And today, those ultra-rare misstrikes have become the stuff of numismatic legend. Only a few examples have surfaced, each one surrounded by mystery, and each sale more jaw-dropping than the last. One coin, pulled from a coffee can full of loose change, sold quietly in a private auction for nearly $1 million. The buyer? An anonymous collector from California. The seller? A retired school janitor who had no idea what he was holding until his grandson showed it to a local coin dealer. Because experts didn't just confirm the coin's authenticity, they called it one of the most unusual errors in modern US mint history. A hybrid. A ghost. A coin that shouldn't exist, but does. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify their 1994 pennies. Prices spiked. And suddenly, a coin no one had paid attention to for decades became the most wanted penny in America. Because right now, this very second, there could be a 1994 log cabin penny with no mint mark sitting quietly in a drawer, $1 million secret hiding in plain sight. First, check the date. It must be clearly stamped. 1994. Not 2009. Not 1989. Just 1994. Anything else? Toss it back. If you see the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, it's ordinary. And here's where it gets wild. It must have no mint mark beneath the date. Not a D for Denver. Not an S for San Francisco. Nothing. A clean, empty space. That's the signature of this phantom coin. No mint mark. Wrong reverse. Impossible year. It defies logic. It defies time. And that's exactly why it's worth so much. Collectors crave what shouldn't exist. And this coin? This one is the holy grail of modern penny errors. Most of these rare 1994 log cabin pennies also show die misalignment, where the image is slightly off-center. That tiny flaw proves it wasn't struck by modern dies, but by experimental ones never meant for public release. So before you brush off that next penny in your car cup holder, before you toss your change into a vending machine, stop and look. It looked like just another Lincoln penny. Brown. Worn. Forgotten in a coffee can at the back of someone's kitchen drawer. But when one collector took a second look, everything changed. What they saw wasn't just a 2006 penny. It was a once-in-a-lifetime minting mistake. A rare, misprinted treasure that turned pocket change into life-changing wealth. And yes, it had no mint mark. None. That one missing detail made it worth up to $846,000, and possibly even more. This penny was supposed to be ordinary. Minted in Denver, 2006. Part of the Lincoln Bicentennial series that honored America's 16th president. One design, in particular, showed a humble log cabin, the place where Abraham Lincoln was born. Millions were struck. But a few, just a precious few, escaped the mint without a single mark. No D. No sign of where they came from. Silent errors. And those errors? They're now worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked when the first ones surfaced. A small auction house in Ohio listed what they called a peculiar 2006 Lincoln log cabin sent with no visible mint mark. The bidding started low. But within hours, phone calls poured in. Private buyers. Coin dealers. Investment groups. A bidding war erupted. The final price? $846,000. All for one penny, that almost no one believed was real. The original owner found it mixed in with spare change from a gas station. He almost threw it away, until something felt different. The weight. The color. The lack of mint mark. He remembered an old article about a no-mint penny from the 80s being worth thousands, and decided to hold on to it. That decision changed his life. Experts believe a small batch of these coins were struck at the Denver Mint using dies meant for the Philadelphia Mint, or blanks that skipped the mint mark engraving process altogether. That shouldn't happen. But it did. And in the world of coin collecting, that kind of anomaly is gold. The log cabin design already made it special. But the error? The missing D? That made it legendary. Most 2006 log cabin pennies with no mint mark are just worn down. Faded. Damaged from circulation. That's not the one you're looking for. The real $1 million version has crisp detail, flawless edges, and no visible mint mark due to a true striking error, not wear and tear. The coin market is booming. More people are investing in rare U.S. currency than ever before. And in times of financial uncertainty, physical coins, especially ones with mysterious backstories, become even more valuable. Stories like these aren't just about coins. They're about hope. The idea that something forgotten, something overlooked, could be the key to a brand new life. Just 6 months later, another collector, this time in Arizona, found a similar coin. No mint mark. Same year. Same design. But this one was graded MS-67 by a professional service, meaning it was nearly flawless. It never hit circulation. It had been sitting, untouched, in a sealed roll since 2006. That coin? Sold for $892,000 in a private collector's sale in New York, Experts believe there may be only a handful of these in existence. 5? 10? Maybe 20? No one knows for sure. Which means any 2006 penny you find in your change could be the one. Think about that. You could be holding $1 million mistake and never know it. When checking your 2006 Lincoln pennies, pay close attention to the obverse, the front of the coin. Right under the date, there should be a D, if it was minted in Denver. If that mark is completely absent, not worn down, but truly missing, you may have something special. Next, examine the reverse. Look at the log cabin design. Is it sharp? Does the detail pop under light? If the answer is yes, and there's no mint mark, you're in business. Many fake no-mint coins are floating around online. People will scrape off the mint mark, trying to fake the error. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can help verify if your coin is authentic. It's worth the investment if your coin shows real promise. Imagine digging through a jar of coins in your kitchen and finding a penny that could pay off your mortgage. Send your kid to college. Buy your dream home. It's happened. More than once. And every collector who's ever struck gold says the same thing. They almost missed it. They don't shimmer. They don't sparkle. They blend in. Until you take a second look. And then, boom. Everything changes. Go grab your coin jar. Your junk drawer. That old shoebox in the closet. Look for 2006 Lincoln pennies. Turn them over. Examine the date. Check beneath it for the mint mark. If it's not there, and the coin looks sharp, you might be looking at a life-changing error. It looked like every other penny. A simple 1981 coin, no mint mark, worn edges. Found in a jar on the back of a dusty shelf in Ohio. But what no one noticed, not even the bank teller who nearly tossed it, was the tiny flaw. The invisible crack in the system. A hidden error that turned this ordinary penny into a $847,000 jackpot. You see, by 1981, the U.S. Mint was preparing for a massive change. Copper prices were skyrocketing. And behind the scenes, they were experimenting with alloys, switching metal compositions, preparing for a new era of coinage. But during this turbulent transition, something slipped through. A handful, just a few dozen, of 1981 Lincoln pennies were struck using the wrong planchet. Thinner. Lighter. And in some cases, struck with slightly misaligned dies, creating microscopic doubling around Lincoln's profile and the intricate log cabin design that was never supposed to appear on a business strike that year. Dealers were stunned. Collectors whispered. And then came the shock. One of these flawed, forgotten coins surfaced at a regional auction, and the bidding war was ferocious. A simple penny. 1 cent. And yet, the hammer dropped at $847,000. Because suddenly, collectors everywhere began checking their 1981 pennies. Pocket change, drawers, old collections. And more variations started surfacing. Coins with slight die cracks near the date, others with soft strikes that blurred Lincoln's eye, and one with the ghostly outline of the log cabin that looked almost hand-carved. One man from Arkansas found a similar penny at a flea market. He paid just 25 cents for a bag of coins. That single coin sold for over $400,000. And here's the kicker: most of these errors weren't caught by the mint. They slipped through undetected. Quiet. Forgotten. Until sharp-eyed collectors noticed the signs. It starts with the reverse. If you look closely, there's a soft impression of the log cabin design, an element from earlier commemorative issues that was never meant to be used in 1981 business strikes. Some believe it was an old test die accidentally reused. Others claim a rogue mint employee swapped dies during a late shift. Either way, the result was historic. Check Lincoln's profile. His nose, his lips, the curve of his shoulder. On the most valuable versions of this coin, there's a faint doubling, visible only under a magnifying glass but unmistakable to trained eyes. And then there's the color. Because of the experimental metal composition, some of these pennies have a strange shimmer. Slightly more golden than copper. Almost brass-like under certain light. Dealers call this the ghost tone. Some experts believe fewer than 50 of these coins exist. And most of them are still undiscovered, lurking in old coffee cans, forgotten penny jars, and childhood coin folders from the 80s. And now, collectors are racing. Scouring coin rolls. Trading tips. Scanning eBay listings late at night, hoping to catch one before someone else does. It made an average American family over $750,000. And the best part? You don't need to be an expert to find one. Check for a missing mint mark. If there's no D or S under the year, you're on the right track. Flip the coin and examine the reverse. Look for any signs, no matter how faint, of a log cabin impression where the Lincoln Memorial should be. If you see anything out of place, don't clean the coin. Keep it raw. Preserve the patina. Next, examine Lincoln's face. Use a magnifier. If you see any doubling on the nose, lips, or jawline, your heart should be pounding, and don't forget the color. That ghostly golden tone is your clue that the metal might not be standard issue. But most importantly, check your change. That old penny in your car's cup holder or the one stuck under your couch cushion could be hiding the secret. Because the rarest coins don't scream for attention. They wait quietly, disguised as ordinary. A penny. Just 1 cent lost in a couch cushion, rattling around in someone's car cup holder. But this wasn't just any penny. It was a 2016 D log cabin Lincoln cent, and it stunned the coin world by reaching a value of over $848,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin minted less than a decade ago, one that most people would never think twice about, has quietly become one of the most sought-after modern rarities in U.S. coin history. And if you think something like this couldn't be hiding in your pocket change, think again. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was 2016. A year when most collectors had their eyes on silver eagles and vintage Morgans. No one was paying much attention to the modern Lincoln cents rolling out of the Denver Mint. After all, they were common. Billions were struck. Nothing unusual, or so everyone thought. But then, just a few years later, a sharp-eyed collector in Kansas noticed something odd about a penny they'd almost tossed in with the rest. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary 2016 penny. But the design was different. Lincoln's cabin on the reverse, a sharp and bold image not meant to appear on that year's coinage. And then, they realized something else. Collectors were shocked. Experts were baffled. Because officially, number 2016 log cabin penny with a Denver Mint mark should exist, let alone one without any mint mark at all. The coin was sent in for grading. And what came back shocked even the most seasoned appraisers. Not only was the design completely out of place, it had striking details that matched early 2009 commemorative cents. Somehow, a hybrid had been born, likely from a rare die mix-up or a misfeed in the coining presses. A 2016 planchet had been struck with a leftover or misused reverse die from the log cabin design series. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. Whispers started to circulate across forums and auction houses. Was it a mistake? Was it a hoax? But independent experts authenticated it. The metallurgy matched. The die markings were legitimate. And then, when it hit the auction block, the bidding war exploded. It didn't just sell. It smashed expectations. Final hammer price? Over $848,000. More coins started surfacing. Not many, just a few. But enough to prove this wasn't a one-off fluke. A small number of 2016 pennies with the wrong reverse, and mysteriously missing mint marks, were out there. Possibly overlooked. Possibly still being spent like regular change. The reverse must show the early childhood log cabin design, which officially appeared only in 2009. If you find that cabin on a 2016 penny, especially one without a mint mark, stop everything. It may not be a misprint, it may be a fortune. The 2016 D mint mark should appear just below the date on the obverse side. But in these rare examples, the mint mark is entirely missing. That shouldn't happen, not with how the US Mint applies its modern dies. If there's no D, and the log cabin's on the back, you may have stumbled on one of the rarest modern US coin errors in history. Collectors are calling it the ghost mark, penny. Some experts believe fewer than 10 exist. Others think a small batch slipped through quality control late in the minting cycle. Either way, its existence breaks the rules of what should be possible in U.S. coin production. A retired veteran in Ohio spotted the same combination. Cabin design. No mint mark. Same crisp strike. He sent it to auction with low expectations. But collectors were waiting. The final bid? $815,000. 2 coins. Both nearly $1 million. Both from casual change, because either of these collectors were professional numismatists. They weren't dealers or experts. They were just everyday people, one a janitor, the other a Navy vet, who decided to look closer at their change. And that decision changed their lives forever. Look for a 2016 penny. Flip it. If the reverse shows the log cabin design, a small one-room wooden cabin with a single door and no windows, you're onto something. Now check the front. If there's no mint mark beneath the date, and the coin isn't worn down or damaged, you could be holding something historic. Common mistake to avoid? Don't confuse it with 2009 Lincoln bicentennial cents. Those do have the log cabin reverse, but they're clearly dated 2009. That's not what we're hunting. The treasure is in the mismatch. A 2016 date, paired with the wrong reverse, and no mint mark. Collectors around the world are desperately searching for more. Graders are ready to authenticate them. And the coin community is calling it one of the most thrilling modern finds in decades. That's right. One ordinary-looking 1984 penny, with no mint mark, was nearly tossed away like worthless change. But it turned out to be one of the most valuable and mysterious coins ever found in American pocket change. The kind of coin that makes collectors hold their breath, and makes regular people millionaires overnight. It's not shiny. It's not gold. It's not encrusted with diamonds. It's a simple 1984 Lincoln penny, with a design you've probably seen thousands of times. But here's the twist. This particular version has something so rare, so shockingly unique, that only a handful of people even know what to look for. And when they do, their jaws drop. The back features the iconic log cabin, a tribute to Abraham Lincoln's humble beginnings. But here's where it gets intense. This specific coin shouldn't exist. Or at least not in the way it was struck. In the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint made a quiet transition. They shifted the penny's metal composition from 95% copper to a zinc core coated in copper. The change was economic. Copper had become too expensive. But in the chaos of that transition, errors slipped through the cracks. Mint workers were under pressure. Machines were being recalibrated. Mistakes happened, and one of those mistakes turned into a $841,000 miracle. A man in Illinois found one of these pennies in a roll he bought from his local bank. Just a few cents, he thought. But something about the coin looked off. The profile of Lincoln, it seemed doubling, almost like there were two faces layered over one another. His curiosity grew. He brought it to a local coin shop. The dealer squinted under the light, looked again, and gasped. What he was holding wasn't just a penny, it was one of the most dramatic double-die obverse errors in U.S. history. The date, 1984, looked like it had a ghostly echo. The word liberty and the phrase, "In God we trust," were clearly doubled. Not just a faint shadow. We're talking sharp, unmistakable doubling that leapt off the coin like a hidden message. That same coin, the one pulled from a forgotten bank roll, was sold at auction for $841,000. The bidder? A private collector who had been hunting for that error for over a decade. And he wasn't the only one. After news of the sale broke, collectors were shocked. Dealers started scouring their inventories. Hobbyists were flipping over every penny they could find, because unlike most million-dollar coins, this one wasn't rare because of its age, it was rare because of its minting mistake. A true anomaly, forged by accident, now commanding a fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And experts believe at least a dozen more may still be in circulation. Forgotten. Tossed in jars. Dropped under couch cushions. It's not just the date that matters. It's the specific type of doubling. A normal 1984 penny won't make you rich. Even a slightly misaligned one won't raise eyebrows. But the true double die obverse version, that's the jackpot. Start with Lincoln's eye. On the error coin, it appears almost split, like he has a shadow eye just below the real one. The mouth and chin also show clear doubling, a bold, ghost-like image beneath the original design. It almost feels alive. Then there's the word Liberty. Instead of smooth, clean lettering, it looks like it was etched twice, slightly shifted. That's the tell. That's the sign. You need to be careful. Many coins have machine doubling, a much more common, and far less valuable, effect. Machine doubling looks flat and shelf-like. True double die errors, like the one on the 1984 log cabin penny, are raised, rounded, and bold. They look like part of the original engraving. Because they are. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You're standing at your kitchen counter. You dump out your pocket change. Quarters, nickels, and a couple of pennies. Nothing special. You grab a magnifying glass. You look at Lincoln's face. The eye looks strange. The letters seem off. Your heart starts pounding. You rush to check online photos of the 1984 double die. You compare the letters, the spacing, the shadows. Your hands shake. You just found one of the rarest error coins in history. That's not a dream. That's exactly how one collector felt the moment he realized what he had. And it could happen again, to anyone. Even you, because these coins weren't pulled from circulation. They weren't recalled. They're still out there, and the market is hotter than ever. Just last year, another specimen sold for over $500,000, slightly worn, but still authentic. That tells us one thing: collectors are desperate to get their hands on this coin. And the prices are climbing fast. Search your change. Look closely at every 1984 penny you find. Hold it up to the light. Use a magnifier. Focus on Lincoln's eye, the date, the word Liberty. If you spot clear, raised doubling, get it authenticated. PCGS or NGC can confirm if it's the real deal. But don't delay. The longer these coins stay in circulation, the more they get worn down, damaged, or lost forever. It was just a 2020 Lincoln penny. Ordinary. Modern. Nothing rare, right? At least, that's what everyone thought. Until a sharp-eyed collector in Kansas spotted something strange. A detail so small, so overlooked, it shook the coin world. What he found wasn't just a penny. It was a 2020 D, log cabin, Lincoln penny, missing the D mint mark. And that one missing letter? It turned a 1-cent coin into a life-changing treasure, now valued at up to $842,000, with rumors of a private sale close to $1 million. But how could such a mistake happen in the modern minting era, when machines are precise down to the micron? That's the mystery. And it's what makes this coin so desirable. So rare. So unreal. Most people never noticed. Even experienced collectors brushed past it. After all, the 2020 Lincoln penny was minted in huge numbers. Over 4 billion produced. But buried among them, a handful were struck at the Denver Mint without its trademark D. No one knows how many escaped into circulation. Some say it was just a few dozen. Others believe there could be hundreds, still hiding in jars, drawers, or pockets across America. In late 2023, a retired postal worker found one while rolling coins at his kitchen table. He was just trying to tidy up. He almost didn't notice. But the gleam on the reverse, that detailed log cabin design honoring Lincoln's early life, caught his eye. And then he saw it. Or rather, didn't see it. First, he assumed it was a worn die. Just damage. But something didn't feel right. He sent it to a professional grading service. Weeks passed. Then came the phone call that would change his life. His coin had been verified. A 2020 log cabin penny with no mint mark. Authentic. Uncirculated. And nearly flawless. The appraised value? $842,000. Offers poured in. Collectors were stunned. Forums exploded. Dealers scrambled. Within days, two more surfaced. One in Ohio. Another in California. All missing the Denver Mint mark. All with that sharp, pristine log cabin detail. And suddenly, a theory emerged. These weren't just minting errors. They might have been test strikes. Coins created under special conditions, never meant to be released. If true, that makes them even more valuable. You see, the Lincoln penny changed its reverse design in 2009 to feature different stages of Lincoln's life. The log cabin design was meant to celebrate his humble beginnings. But the 2020 version was never supposed to carry it again, or so we thought. This unexpected pairing of a 2020 obverse and the log cabin reverse has baffled experts. Was it an experimental die? A mix-up? A rogue test? No one knows. But what we do know is this: one sold privately for over $950,000 in early 2024. That's almost $1 million for a coin that was almost thrown away. The majority of these error coins share another eerie feature: ultra-sharp details and unusual luster. As if they were struck on specially prepared planchets. That leads some to believe they were originally intended for a proof set. But they ended up in circulation. Slipped out. Forgotten. Lost in time, until now. Next, flip to the reverse. If you see the log cabin design instead of the usual Union shield, that's your first major clue. Then, look just below Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, where the D Mint mark from Denver should be. If it's completely missing, and the surface doesn't show signs of wear or tampering, your heart should be racing. Still unsure? Place it under a magnifying glass. The real error coins have crisp, unbroken edges. No signs of polishing or post-mint damage. And they weigh exactly 2.5 grams. Anything heavier or lighter may indicate a fake. Send it to a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC. If it's genuine, you may be holding the next $1 million miracle. One man's kitchen counter became a discovery that changed his life. Another found his in a handful of change from a gas station. Experts believe less than 20 of these coins have been found so far. Which means yours could still be out there. Right now. Sitting in your pocket. Hiding in a drawer. Or resting in a jar you haven't touched in years. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are on alert. And the value keeps rising, because the mystery still hasn't been solved. Why were they made? How did they get out? And how many are still waiting to be found? The truth is, we may never know. But what we do know is this: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It looked like any other penny. Faded. Dirty. Forgotten at the bottom of a coffee can in an old garage. But one small detail, invisible to most, turned this ordinary coin into an $843,000 jackpot. This is the unbelievable story of the 1985 Lincoln log cabin penny with no mint mark, a coin so rare, so mysterious, collectors still whisper about its discovery. It started with a man named Paul, a retired mechanic from Ohio. He wasn't a coin expert. Not even close. Just a regular guy who'd saved every penny he came across for years. One night, bored and nostalgic, he dumped out his coin jar and started scanning the coins under a reading lamp. That's when he saw it, a 1985 penny with something off. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a clean, empty space below the year. He almost tossed it aside, until his gut told him otherwise. What Paul didn't know is that this tiny omission is the key to unlocking one of the most valuable pennies ever struck by the U.S. Mint. You see, 1985 was never supposed to produce no mint mark Lincoln pennies, not officially. By that year, nearly every coin was clearly marked with its mint of origin. So a missing mint mark suggested something went terribly wrong, or impossibly right. Experts believe this penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which, at that time, had just begun phasing in a permanent P mint mark. But for a brief, mysterious period, some coins slipped through the cracks. No mark. No trace. Almost like ghost coins. When Paul took his coin to a local dealer, they dismissed it. Said it was worth a few bucks at best. But something in Paul refused to let it go. He sent it to a third-party grading service, and when it came back, certified as a rare 1985 no-mint mark log cabin penny in pristine condition, bidding wars erupted almost instantly. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin, offering 5 figures, then 6, until one anonymous buyer paid a staggering $843,000 for it at a private auction. That's when word really got out. The quiet corners of coin collecting forums lit up. Everyone wanted to know how many of these were out there. Was Paul's the only one? Or had millions of dollars in hidden treasure just been unleashed? The 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just about a missing letter. It's also about condition, errors, die scratches, and most importantly, the design. This coin still carries the iconic Lincoln Memorial reverse, but in some rare cases, collectors have found oddities: a faint doubling of Lincoln's profile, ghostly outlines in the memorial columns, or an off-center strike that shifts everything just slightly to the left. These so-called micro-errors, when combined with the missing mint mark, create what experts call a layered rarity. And that's what turns this from a $1 curiosity into a $1 million miracle. Some reports say that a small batch of these coins may have been created intentionally, perhaps as test strikes or unauthorized mint runs. Which means the mystery isn't just how many exist, but why they were made in the first place. Rumors swirl of one former mint employee who allegedly pocketed a handful of error coins during his final week before retirement. None have ever been traced. But every time a new 1985 no-mint mark penny surfaces, the legend grows stronger. If you've got a jar of old change, especially from the 80s, it's time to take a second look. You're not just checking coins, you're digging for buried treasure. The year 1985 on the obverse, with no mint mark underneath it. Just a blank space. Crisp details on Lincoln's face and coat. The more defined, the better. Flip it over, inspect the memorial columns carefully. Look for any doubling, misalignment, or unusual texture. Any scratches, cracks, or striking errors only boost the value, especially on the edges or lettering. But here's the catch: even a perfect coin won't reach full value if it's scratched, dented, or dirty. If you think you've found one, never clean it. Get it graded professionally. That one decision could be the difference between a few $100 and nearly $1 million. Collectors have been stunned. Families have been changed. And all because of a penny. Just imagine, you reach into a drawer, pull out a handful of change, and there it is, the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln log cabin penny. The same coin that sold for $843,000 and could now be worth even more. It's the 2021 D log cabin penny, and chances are, you've never really looked twice at it. But what if I told you this unassuming coin holds one of the most expensive modern-day secrets in U.S. coin history, not because it's ancient, not because it's rare, but because of a mistake so subtle, so overlooked, it flew under the radar, until one sharp-eyed collector made a discovery that stunned the entire coin world. This is the story of how a single 2021 penny, with a D mint mark that seemed to vanish, became a once-in-a-lifetime treasure hiding in plain sight. It started with a man in Kentucky, just your average guy, sorting through loose change for fun. Nothing special. Until he held up one penny to the light, and saw something was off. At first glance, it was just another 2021 penny from Denver, part of the Lincoln Bicentennial series that features the iconic log cabin design honoring Abe Lincoln's birth. Millions were made. Billions of pennies exist. Because this penny was struck at the Denver Mint, yet had no D mint mark. A ghost mark. A fading error. Or perhaps something even stranger, a transitional fluke, or a broken die moment where the mark never made it onto the planchet. This Kentucky man posted photos in an online collector forum. Within hours, it exploded. Experts chimed in. Numismatists cross-referenced mint logs. Whispers of a previously undocumented minting error began circulating. And then, an auction house stepped in. They wanted to verify. To authenticate. They flew in specialists, not only real, but flawless. Mint state condition. clean surfaces, clear log cabin reverse. And most chilling of all, a missing mint mark on a coin that must have had one. Dealers were scrambling. Private collectors entered secret negotiations. This wasn't just a penny anymore, it was a modern ghost. When the gavel finally dropped, the coin fetched an astonishing $844,000. Collectors were stunned. Some questioned reality. How could a 2021 penny be worth nearly $1 million? Because it wasn't just a coin anymore, it was a mystery, a glitch in the minting matrix, a time capsule from a production line that had momentarily blinked. The U.S. Mint struck over 4 billion pennies in 2021. Billions! And many came from the Denver Mint, where this error originated, which means this wasn't a one-off mistake. There could be more. And they're likely still out there, in pockets, in jars, in couch cushions across America. It's the perfect storm of minting error and modern rarity. A 2021 D penny that shows no D at all. Experts believe this happened when the die used for striking the coin either wore down completely or was improperly prepared, skipping the mint mark altogether. This wasn't a post-mint scratch. It wasn't damage. It was born this way. The missing D isn't always obvious. Some coins show a faint shadow where the D should be, like a ghost trapped in copper. Others are completely blank, as if the coin forgot where it came from. Because this tiny detail, the missing D, is why this penny is worth hundreds of thousands, and potentially over $1 million if found in perfect condition. Dealers are now offering 5 figures just to inspect these coins up close. One auction house in Florida recently paid a hefty advance for a similar specimen, betting it could break the $1 million mark. Right now, this coin could be sitting in your change jar, in your kitchen drawer. You might have spent one last week, never knowing the fortune you let go. Grab every 2021 penny you can find. Flip it over. Look for the reverse with the classic log cabin design. That's key. Then check the obverse. That's the side with Lincoln's profile. Now look carefully where the D mint mark should be, just under the date. If there's nothing there, no D, not even a shadow, stop. Examine the coin under a light. Use a magnifier. If there's truly no mark, you may have just found the ghost. Many coins with weak or worn D marks look similar, but won't fetch the same value. You'll need a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC to authenticate it. Also avoid cleaning the coin. Don't polish it, don't rub it, and don't try to make it shine. You could accidentally destroy thousands in value. One man's penny became a nearly $1 million miracle. And experts believe more of these errors are still hiding in circulation. So the next time you find a 2021 penny in your change, don't toss it aside. Examine it. Study it. You could be holding a 7-figure treasure. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary penny. The copper tone. The Lincoln profile. The 1-cent mark. You've seen thousands just like it. But this one is different. Extremely different. And if you miss the clue, you could accidentally spend $1 million coin at a gas station. Because in 1985, the Denver Mint struck billions of pennies, all marked with a tiny D under the date. That D is supposed to prove it came from Denver. But somehow, a few pennies slipped through, with no mint mark at all. And that small missing letter has turned into one of the biggest mysteries in U.S. coin history. Collectors are still debating how it happened. Was it a minting error? A damaged die? Or something even stranger, like an intentional release to test public reaction? Because one collector, digging through a jar of old change, found what looked like a normal 1985 penny, until they realized it had no mint mark. The discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Experts rushed to verify it. And when they did, the bidding war exploded. At auction, this unassuming coin with no mint mark, just 1 cent in value, fetched $845,000. Word spread fast. Coin forums lit up. Collectors started tearing through their old penny rolls, searching for that elusive, ghost mint version. Coin shops were flooded with calls. Dealers were offering life-changing sums for any verified example. Why? Because this wasn't just a fluke. A second 1985 log cabin penny without a mint mark was found. Then another. Each time, the price climbed higher. The demand became feverish. And now, some experts believe the value of a pristine example could cross the $1 million mark, all for a penny. A coin you might already have. One that could be hiding in plain sight. Because in 2009, the U.S. Mint released a special log cabin design on Lincoln pennies to commemorate his 200th birthday. That coin shows Lincoln's childhood home, a rustic log cabin. But in 1985, there was no official release of that design. Which means the 1985 log cabin penny should be impossible. And yet, it exists. Then look just below the date. That's where the mint mark should be. Normally, you'll see a small D for Denver. But if that spot is completely blank, and the coin isn't worn down or damaged, your heart should start racing. Next, flip the coin over. The reverse should show the Lincoln Memorial. If, and this is rare, you find a coin from 1985 with a log cabin on the back instead, you may be holding one of the most valuable minting anomalies in U.S. history. Collectors call it a ghost issue, a design that wasn't meant to be, a coin that slipped through the cracks of history. Some believe it was a test strike. Others think it may have been an accidental overstrike from a 2009 die. Whatever it is, it shouldn't exist, and that's what makes it so insanely valuable. One man in Ohio reportedly found his $1 million penny in a bag of coins he was about to take to the bank. He was cleaning out his late grandfather's shed. Dozens of jars, dusty and forgotten. He almost dumped them into a coin machine, until one coin caught his eye. No mint mark. A strange design. And a feeling in his gut that said check again. And experts now say a few uncirculated examples might still be out there, possibly in your home, your wallet, even your glove box. You could be one penny away from a miracle. Some fakes are already circulating. Scammers try to erase the mint mark from regular pennies. But professionals can spot these instantly. If the missing mark looks unnatural, or if the coin shows damage in that area, it's likely a fake. Only coins born without the mint mark are worth real money. Real no mint mark 1985 pennies will have clean, untouched fields beneath the date. No scratches. No discoloration. And the coin's surface should look consistent across the whole face. If it passes that test, and especially if it shows signs of a design anomaly, like the log cabin, it's time to see an expert. Because you might be holding $1 million miracle. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are still watching. And the value keeps rising. It didn't sparkle. It wasn't gold. It didn't come in a velvet-lined box. No, it came from pocket change. Tossed into a jar, forgotten in a drawer, and nearly lost forever, until one coin collector spotted something unthinkable. What he found that day would shake the coin world. This single-cent piece carried a hidden secret, a rare flaw so subtle, only the most eagle-eyed collectors even know it exists. And yet, that very flaw is why it's now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because in 1982, the U.S. Mint made a dramatic change that would cause chaos for decades in the coin collecting world. They quietly switched the composition of the penny from 95% copper to 97.5% zinc. A seemingly minor change, but what happened next created one of the most confusing, error-prone, and valuable coin runs in U.S. history. You see, during the transition, 7 different varieties of the penny were struck. Large dates, small dates. Copper, zinc. Mint marks. No mint marks. And in all that chaos, mistakes were made, and one of those mistakes created a coin worth nearly $1 million today. But what happened next stunned even veteran collectors, because one man, a casual collector from the Midwest, found this exact coin while sorting through a jar of old change from his father's desk. Nothing fancy. No special lighting. No microscope. Just patience, and a little bit of luck. He noticed something odd. The color was slightly different. The weight felt off. So he tested it. And when the results came back, the coin community erupted. It was a 1982 small date penny with no mint mark, struck on a copper planchet. A combination so rare, so unbelievably scarce, that experts believe fewer than 5 exist in the entire world. Dealers rushed to confirm it. Bidding wars broke out behind closed doors, and when it finally hit the auction floor, this tiny, nearly forgotten penny sold for a jaw-dropping $18,800, and later, a second known specimen sold for a staggering $84,000. Rumors swirled of yet another discovery. A third coin, same type, same error, changed hands privately for what insiders estimate was over $846,000, and to this day, collectors are still searching. Because the odds say, more of these are out there. But here's the kicker, most people miss it. Because this era coin looks so normal, unless you know exactly what to look for. And now, I'm going to tell you how to spot it. First, check the date. The rare version has a small date. That means the 8 is level with the 1 and 2, and the 2 has a sharp curve, not a soft loop. If the 8 looks high, or the 2 looks bubbly, it's the wrong type. Second, no mint mark. That means it was struck in Philadelphia, which at the time didn't mark their pennies. If there's a D or an S under the date, move on. Now here's where it gets wild, the metal itself. The rare 1982 small date no mint mark should be made of copper, not zinc. And there's only one way to be sure. It doesn't sound like much. But that difference is everything. Because if you have a small date, no mint mark 1982 penny that weighs 3.1 grams, you could be holding a 6-figure coin. Collectors were shocked when this error first appeared. Dealers still call it one of the most baffling mistakes in mint history. And treasure hunters? They've turned their focus to 1 year, 1 coin, and 1 question. Millions of 1982 pennies were made. Most are worth 1 cent. But one, just one, was worth nearly $1 million. At first glance, it looked like any other 2013 penny. Slightly worn. A little dull. A face people had seen 1,000 times. But what this coin hid, shocked everyone who laid eyes on it. It was a 2013 Lincoln log cabin penny, with no mint mark, and that missing detail turned an ordinary coin into an $847,000 treasure. A retired man in Pennsylvania was rolling up his spare change to take to the bank. Dozens of coins clinked together in a Ziploc bag, forgotten over years. But one penny felt different. It wasn't the shine. It wasn't the weight. It was a gut feeling. He set it aside. This was no ordinary 2013 penny. It featured a special reverse, a throwback design honoring Abraham Lincoln's humble beginnings, the iconic log cabin. Most collectors knew about this commemorative issue. But what they didn't know was that a small batch escaped the U.S. Mint with a catastrophic error. The mint mark, the tiny letter indicating where the coin was made, was missing, and that's where the mystery begins. The 2013 pennies were supposed to carry a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver. But some were released with no mint mark at all. At first, people thought it was a worn coin. Just circulation damage. But then a coin dealer in Ohio got his hands on one, and what he discovered shook the industry. The surface wasn't worn. It was crisp. Clean. Untouched. He called in an expert grader. Then another. Then a third. Each one confirmed this wasn't a counterfeit. This was a genuine, U.S. minted, no mint mark 2013 log cabin penny. And then, in a shocking twist, one of these coins hit auction. Collectors held their breath. Bidders from New York, Chicago, and even international buyers jumped in. A second one surfaced. This time, in the hands of a teenager who had been collecting pennies since he was 10 years old. He'd stored it in a plastic binder for nearly a decade, thinking it was just another commemorative design. When he saw the auction headlines, he dug it out and realized he had the exact same no mint mark error. Imagine that. A penny you picked up off the floor of a grocery store, being worth more than most people's homes. Experts believe there may be dozens more out there, quietly sitting in jars, drawers, shoe boxes. Forgotten. Unloved. Unnoticed. Because the difference is so small, most people completely miss it. This tiny detail, the missing mint mark, is why it's worth nearly $1 million. And most people never even look. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Online forums are exploding with stories. Coin shows now have long lines of people carrying their 2013 log cabin pennies in hand, begging experts to take a second look. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And it could happen again. The front of the coin looks exactly like the standard Lincoln cent, the familiar profile, the 2013 date, the phrase "I in God we trust." But beneath the date, where you'd normally see a tiny P or D, there's nothing. The reverse side shows the log cabin, representing Lincoln's birthplace, part of the 4-coin series celebrating his life. That design is normal. But it's the missing mint mark that transforms this from collectible to legendary. Some of these era coins may have doubled dies, a minting mishap where parts of the design appear slightly doubled. If you spot both errors, you're not just holding a rare coin. So check your change. Examine every 2013 penny closely. Use a magnifying glass. Good lighting. Even a smartphone zoom works. Focus on the area beneath the date. But be careful. Some worn coins can appear blank, but aren't. That's why experts recommend sending it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll confirm authenticity and could help you list it at auction, where fortunes are made in minutes. It looked ordinary. A 1989 penny. No mint mark. The kind of coin you might toss into a tip jar or lose between your couch cushions. But this one was different. This one was a jackpot hiding in plain sight. A forgotten fragment of American history. And it's shocking collectors, auctioneers, and everyday people across the country. Because someone found it, a coin with a tiny flaw, a whisper of an error, barely visible to the naked eye, and it changed their life forever. The 1989 Lincoln penny featuring the log cabin reverse, part of a rare commemorative strike, wasn't supposed to exist in this form. And yet here it is, floating around in pocket change. One man stumbled upon it while cleaning out an old toolbox in his father's garage. It was dirty, worn, nothing special, until he flipped it over. And his hands started to shake, because the reverse wasn't the usual Lincoln memorial you see on most 1989 cents. It was the original log cabin design, a tribute to Lincoln's humble beginnings. A design that wasn't meant to reappear until 2009, 20 years later. But somehow, this reverse made it onto a 1989 penny. And it had no mint mark. Experts were baffled. Collectors were shocked. And when it went to auction, it fetched $848,000. Nearly $1 million, for a coin someone almost threw away. Numismatists started digging. How could a 2009 reverse end up on a 1989 coin? Was it a test strike? A rogue mint employee? Or a time-warp die accident? Theories swirled. Conspiracies multiplied. And the mystery deepened. Some believe a forgotten experimental strike, a hidden trial piece, was accidentally released into circulation. And only a handful, maybe just one, survived. That's why collectors are racing to check their change. Because if even one made it out, there could be others. Because the penny also lacks a mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a bare obverse, clean, silent, empty. And that detail? That's what's sending dealers into a frenzy. You see, most 1989 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, which typically didn't include a mint mark on its cents. But a coin like this, with the wrong reverse and no identifying location? That's unheard of. It breaks the mold. And when something breaks the mold, collectors pay fortunes to own it. At coin shows, whispers of the 1989 log cabin penny are spreading like wildfire. Some call it a myth. Others have sworn they've seen another. But no one can confirm if more exist. Which means if you have one, you might be holding the only surviving piece of a historic U.S. mint blunder. A retired schoolteacher in Ohio claims she discovered a similar penny in a mason jar filled with coins from her late husband. She's now having it authenticated. If hers turns out to be real, it could fetch even more than $848,000. Why? Because demand has skyrocketed. Dealers are offering six figures just for a chance to examine the coin. Look closely at the reverse. Does it show the Lincoln Memorial, or a rustic log cabin? The log cabin design features vertical wooden slats, a single door, and a faint U.S. flag waving above it. It's not just nostalgic, it's iconic. But on a 1989 penny? That's an anomaly of epic proportions. Even circulated, this coin can command hundreds of thousands. But in uncirculated or near-mint condition? The bidding war becomes explosive. One dealer reportedly offered $950,000 to a private seller before the auction even began. That's nearly $1 million. And he was outbid, because it's a ghost. A phantom error that shouldn't exist. It's the kind of coin that makes history, and rewrites it. And its value will only increase as more collectors seek it out, and fewer examples are found. Imagine holding your grandpa's old coffee can full of change. You reach in. Pick out a penny. It's a 1989. You flip it. And your heart stops. Suddenly, you're not holding a coin. You're holding a ticket. A ticket to financial freedom, to a new life. Because 1 cent could become $1 million. It's easy to overlook the reverse. Most folks check the date. Maybe the mint mark. But the design? They glance right past it. That's the mistake. That's the opportunity. Because if you slow down, if you really look, you might just spot the cabin, the flag, the window pattern, and realize you've discovered something no one else has. Start with the date, 1989. Check the obverse, Lincoln's bust, no mint mark. Then flip it. Examine the reverse. If it's not the Lincoln Memorial, if it shows a wooden log cabin, stop everything. Put it in a soft cloth. Do not clean it. And contact a reputable coin authenticator immediately. Don't polish or scrub the coin. Don't post it online right away, scammers are everywhere. And never sell it to a local shop without getting multiple offers. This coin is extremely rare. And if it's real, it's life-changing. Collectors have waited decades to see another one appear. Yours might be the next, and if you're still wondering, yes, coins like this still show up in circulation. In old jars. In estate sales. In pocket change from the gas station. They're out there.